Welcome, everyone, to Advancing Transportation Electrification in Underserved Communities through Utility Grant Programs. I'll turn it over now to Justin Breithart. He's the Senior Program Manager at Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance. Go ahead, Justin.
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon and a good morning to those folks who it's still morning for. I'm Justin Breithart, Senior Program Manager with the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance. Do want to give a little bit of background about SEIA. So founded in 2007, SEIA provides decision makers with the knowledge, resources, and opportunities to use energy more efficiently. We advance equitable energy policy, support strong building energy codes, and work to expand access to energy efficient transportation options. Our goal is to optimize the use and impact of energy so that all people in the Southeast can live and work in healthy and resilient buildings, utilize clean and affordable transportation, and thrive in a robust and equitable economy. And I'm going to thank our star-studded speakers today from Pacific Power and Resource Innovations. I want to introduce our speakers for today. And first, we have Barrett Kling with Pacific Power. Barrett is a strategic and compassionate innovator committed to being of service to people and the planet. As a senior product manager at PacifiCorp for the last 7 years, Barrett managed and grew PacifiCorp's portfolio of voluntary clean energy products in an ever-changing and increasingly volatile marketplace, including the energy industry-leading Blue Sky Renewable Energy Program, which during this time quadrupled program megawatt hours and currently ranks as first in green power cells among the National Renewable Energy Lab's top 10 list for voluntary programs. In the last 2 years, Barrett has expanded her knowledge of the transportation and electrification sector through her management of the grant programs made possible through the Oregon Clean Fuels Program. These include a portfolio of e-mobility grants, matching grants, and grant writing opportunities for PacifiCorp's non-residential customers. Under Barrett's management, these customer programs have expanded business with existing customers by delivering engaging opportunities, developing relationships, and initiating discussions about growth potential. Prior to this role, Barrett managed the communications for PacifiCorp's What's Smart, energy efficiency, and Blue Sky renewable energy portfolios. When not working to save the planet, Barrett enjoys the outdoor playground in the Pacific Northwest by hiking and kayaking with friends and family. All right, next we have Kelly Helfrich with Resource Innovations. Kelly is responsible for leading the growth of our transportation electrification practice and execution of transportation electrification consulting services and software products for utilities, transportation authorities, and government agencies. She brings 10 years of dedicated electric vehicle experience with both a startup and a large OEM in a variety of capacities, including operations, strategy, business development, and product development. Kelly builds upon our Resource Innovations' existing transportation electrification expertise, as well as Resource Innovations' strong utility relationships in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom to deliver solutions for electric vehicle grid optimization, fleet electrification, and community electrification. Next, we have Stephanie Starr with Resource Innovations. Stephanie manages a diverse set of utility transportation electrification programs at Resource Innovations, where she provides support to community-based projects related to electric mobility. She has led electric vehicle program development and implementation for electric utilities in the Pacific Northwest and the Southern United States. Stephanie has over 20 years of experience in the areas of program and project administration and management with a focus on electric mobility for the last 5 years. She packages and delivers innovative solutions to address the needs of electric vehicle consumers and utilities in a rapidly evolving charging landscape. And then we have Vanessa Perkins, as well as Resource Innovations. Vanessa is a program manager at Resource Innovations, overseeing residential, community, and fleet electrification programs for utilities across the country. She's an environmental scientist whose background in ecology resulted in her drive to deploy sustainable climate solutions that balance environmental conservation with community resilience and public health. Her experience includes grant and proposal writing, program design, and implementation of transportation electrification programs, energy efficiency outreach, clean transportation, advocacy, and stakeholder engagement. And with that, I want to again thank you all for joining us, and I'm going to pass it over to our speakers. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I think I'm next. Thanks, Justin. And thanks to Sia for having us and co-presenting this webinar with Pacific Power. I will go very quickly during my intro slides because we've all been at a webinar before and we just want to get to the content and what we signed up for. So I will go very quickly to just tell you that Resource Innovations, we are a DSM company. We have been in the utility space for over 20 years, but we've been doing more and more transportation electrification work in the last 6 years, focused on EVs and charging infrastructure and promoting these technologies in the communities in which we work. So on the next slide, the way we organize the EV or the transportation electrification practice. Oh, here's our NASCAR logo slide, as we call it, with a few of the utilities that we've been working with over the last couple decades. And on the next slide is how we structure our transportation electrification practice. So we divide it up into 3 groups: community electrification, fleet, and grid optimization and planning. And on the next slide is the different products and solutions that we have in each of these 3 business verticals. The webinar today that you're in is going to be focused on the very top left solution here under community electrification, all around our e-mobility community funding and the great work that our teams have been doing with the wonderful people at Pacific Power. And so with that, I will pass it over to the team to present everything that they've been up to. And I will also just say, if you have any thoughts, questions, or topics you ever want to talk about related to EVs or charging infrastructure, you should all have my contact information, so feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Kelly. Can we move to the next slide, please? Our presentation today will focus on Pacific Power and their EV grant offerings in the utilities Oregon territory, which are funded by the state of Oregon's Clean Fuels program. After 30 minutes or so, we would like to answer any questions you might have. And right now we are ready for the poll, please. Hey, those are all great answers, and we will be hitting on some of those topics today. So thank you for your answers. Go ahead and move to the next slide, please. Okay. What we really hope today is that you will gain an understanding of Pacific Power's EV grant programs in Oregon, in particular the electric mobility grant and the resulting projects. We want to convey program design considerations to more intentionally target and support underserved communities. Next slide, please. We'll present the benefits we've observed to both underserved communities and the utility because of these programs. Some lessons learned as it relates to program design, and as these programs have informed utility planning, we will close with information about the exciting new transportation electrification offerings that are coming soon at Pacific Power. And we are ready for the next poll, please. Okay. Looks like we've got a pretty good mix. That's great. All right, next slide, please. All right, and with that, I will hand it over to Barrett to provide some background information about Pacific Power's Oregon territory.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. And next slide. So Pacific Power powers about 600,000 customers in 200 communities across Oregon, both urban and rural. And since 2016, the state of Oregon enacted the Clean Fuel Standard, which created the Clean Fuels program to fund utility customer transportation electrification programs. The Clean Fuel program policy requires that utilities invest in programs that support transportation electrification, and certain percentage of funds in the program supporting transportation electrification in underserved communities as defined by House Bill 2165. With this policy and extensive stakeholder engagement and mapping analysis, which indicated that about 97% of Pacific Power residential Oregon customers are members of the qualifying House Bill 2165 communities, we developed our 3 grant programs funded by the Clean Fuels Program for Oregon customers. Now I think we'll take a quick poll about how your organization pursues grants. So the 3 grants that we offer today to support projects to advance electric transportation in underserved communities and support Oregon's goal to reduce the transportation sector's carbon intensity are the Electric Mobility Grant, the Matching Grant, and the Grant Writing Support programs. Collectively, $5 million in grants has been awarded to date. And we want to highlight the evolution of our electric mobility, our e-mobility grant program, which first launched as a charging infrastructure pilot in 2018. The pilot continued in 2019, and then with more stakeholder feedback and EV technology hitting the market, it became the broader, flexible e-mobility grant program, which we will focus on in the next few slides. The e-mobility grant program has gone through 3 iterations, started in 2020 and continues to grow its funding pool, project types, and participants. You can see the types of projects in EV technology, and the community served has greatly expanded since 2018. Next slide, please. And I think Stephanie, you're up.
Vanessa's up. Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
Vanessa,
Thank you so much. That's okay. Thank you. And so as Barrett mentioned, we're going to talk in more depth about the e-mobility grant that has evolved over the last few years. Before we launch into the details about this e-mobility grant program and the programs and its resulting projects that it has funded, first, I just want to address that we recognize Oregon as a West Coast state, and we're talking to an audience that is on the East Coast, Southeast coast primarily. And there are, while it is a different region of the US, there are a lot of similarities between the Southeast region and Oregon. Similar to Oregon, the Southeast region has a mix of urban and rural communities, a lot of agricultural communities. There's also an aging population, different retirement destinations and vacation destinations, and also disadvantaged communities with significant income disparities and environmental pollution burdens. Similar to Oregon, the Southeast has very diverse populations, diverse communities, and a mix of industries across each state and region. And on the next slide, the Southeast region also does have some utilities that offer transportation electrification grant programs. In preparing for this slide, we had researched that there are programs with several utilities that support public charging infrastructure, that have some e-bike funding woven in, and these grant programs supporting EVs serve a lot of stakeholders and are a great use of grant funding. So our goal for this webinar is to convey that the lessons that we've learned in implementing the Pacific Power grant programs and how you can further tailor utility grant programs to be more equity focused based off of our experiences and feedback from the participants in our programs. So although operating in a different part of the country, the program design and projects that have resulted from the e-mobility grant specifically are highly relevant to the Southeast region and are an example of how utility grant programs can be tailored to really support underserved communities and also benefit the utility implementers and other stakeholders. So let me jump into more details on the next slide. I'm going to go ahead to the next slide. I want to keep zooming in on this electric mobility grant program offered by Pacific Power. So as Barrett mentioned, it evolved starting in 2018 as a pilot and then became the full-blown e-mobility grant program in 2020 and has funded a variety of projects across the state of Oregon. Just a little bit about how it works. Applicants must be non-residential customers. There's a preference given to community-focused organizations, especially those supporting underserved customers. Applicants can submit a range of project types that ultimately support Pacific Power's residential customers with transportation electrification. So it's not just passenger EVs, it's not just charging infrastructure. Projects are then evaluated based off of a scoring rubric, and the projects have a 18-month deployment timeline. From May through August, applications can be submitted to Pacific Power through their online portal or by emailing us the documentation directly. And on this map here, as you can see, it's a very broad grant that has enabled a variety of community-focused EV projects, such as EV education campaigns, EV workforce development projects, community EV rideshare projects in both rural and urban communities, and even an electric tractor farm share program in Eastern Oregon. Let's go to the next slide. So just with that overview about the e-mobility grant program in particular, offered by Pacific Power, I'm going to hand it to Stephanie to talk about specific projects that have resulted from this equity-focused program design. So Stephanie, I'm going to pass it on to you to highlight the first of the few projects that have resulted from e-mobility grant.
Thanks, Vanessa. Next slide, please. All right. In 2020, the Blueprint Foundation won an e-mobility grant to procure an electric van for high school student programming that supports BIPOC youth workforce development in the green economy. They're a nonprofit based out of Portland, and they engage Black youth and adults in culturally specific workforce development that helps them secure sustaining careers in the green sector. The e-mobility grant funded an electric van and charger to transport students participating in their Constructing Careers summer program, which is a 5-week trade skills course. It also funded transportation electrification curriculum development and outreach. Next slide, please. The electric van and curriculum project has since completed, but like with most COVID-19 plans, the project faced significant challenges, even with strong planning. The timeline doubled. Their initial plan was to purchase a 15-passenger van, but with supply chain delays and consequent cost increases, the vehicle ended up being too expensive and unavailable. Pacific Power worked with Blueprint to help them revise their plan, modify their project goals, and ultimately they were able to compromise, purchase a different model, and launch Constructing Careers in March 2023. Being flexible with the program rules and providing resources for Blueprint to explore our alternative vehicle and charger models was critical to launching the project. The van is now being used to transport students to and from programs, support EV technology instruction, and used as a demonstration vehicle around various school districts to recruit more participants to their clean energy workforce training programs. The Circles of Care team was awarded the e-mobility grant to procure an electric fleet vehicle to provide critical deliveries and medical care transportation to seniors and other vulnerable community members in the rural Hood River area. The original scope was to purchase a 2021 Volkswagen ID4 to launch the EV Transportation Services project in May 2022. Despite excellent project planning, the project timeline, scope of work, and administration had to shift for the project to succeed. So once again, flexibility and collaboration with the grant applicant and their administrative partner was critical to seeing this project through, and ultimately Circles of Care was able to launch in April 2023. To date, they have provided 2,000 miles worth of trips with extremely positive feedback from patients and drivers. Peer organizations have seen the success of Circles of Care, which is spreading the word and taking an active role in sharing with other groups how to electrify patient transportation fleets. I wanted to highlight a rural community e-mobility project with Crook County Fairgrounds, which partnered with several Oregon nonprofits to create an electric tractor farm share and electric agricultural vehicle awareness campaign. Like our other projects during the pandemic, the supply chain delays from the time of application and time of procurement resulted in the team needing to go back and revise the equipment selection. We supported the project team in revising the scope and timeline, and this year the farm share launched. The project team lends the e-tractor to small farms who track the performance data and experience using it. Chargers have also been installed at the fairgrounds, which host field days to provide hands-on demonstrations with the tractor and EV education to rural communities. And finally, this is another 2020 e-mobility grant that was awarded, and it was for the Corvallis Benton County Economic Development Office. And it was a local government-run e-bike voucher program for low-income families in the county. Partnering with local bike shops, the agency used the grant to create an instant rebate pilot for low-income residents that would also support purchases from local businesses. Despite the pandemic, this project experienced minimal supply chain delays with e-bikes and their supporting equipment. They were able to administer 48 instant e-bike rebates. The micromobility pilot received a lot of positive feedback and requests to scale. The pilot has inspired other neighboring cities to design similar e-bike pilots and prompted conversations with Pacific Power to support more of these pilots specifically, which Barrett will speak about later. So as you can see, these flexible EV grant programs, such as the e-mobility grant, have had significant impacts on underserved utility customer groups in both rural and urban areas. The grants are independent from ratepayer support, and they provide funding to a variety of project types that are tailored to what applicant communities need rather than being prescriptive. They meet customers where they are at with the EV transition. Customers can pilot and explore with minimal risk and utility support before scaling and fully investing. Administering the EV grant programs, such as the e-mobility program, also provide significant benefits to the utility. They're an important stakeholder feedback tool that allows the utility to build trust and work as a community partner. They're also a test bed to help inform future program needs and technology trends like the Corvallis e-bike project, and they're highly visible projects that can inspire EV transitions in other communities and utilization of other utility programs. And we are ready for the next poll, please. All right, so lessons learned. Next slide, please. Before we wrap up, I just want to recap on what we've learned as administrators of the EV grant programs to make them more successful. The first is having a flexible program is critical. Even the best laid plans will encounter a few bumps, so a little give can go a long way. And second is the feedback and networking. It's one of the best tools in our box for keeping the program in optimal shape. The peer roundtable is a favorite among our grant recipients, and it continues to be a tremendous source of real-time experience and information for us, the utilities, and recipients. We hold it annually, and we gather all the grant recipients together, and they are able to network, to share their experiences, talk about their projects, and it inspires a lot of ideas for future projects, scaling, implementing new projects, and it really helps to inform the program overall. Third is the rubric and evaluation process. We revisit the rules of the grants and our scoring rubric every year, and we are updating it continually to ensure we are weighting equity and the distribution of project benefits to underserved communities more heavily. And finally, the application support. There's ongoing customer engagement through the utility and our team. We're ready to support with the application process, and we're excited